Hello and welcome to Cozy News Corner, your place for the latest open source news. And we're gonna go through this week's news in open source and different toolings. And we're gonna go through a little bit of accessibility. We're gonna talk a little bit about LLMs and so on. So just jump right into it. So first off, I'm gonna talk about Rustesk. And I have been using other tools similar to Rustesk. Yeah, TeamViewer, AnyDesk, and so on. I have been running in my environment, and we have done that in order to run it with Windows systems and so on. And I've been using TeamViewer particularly and didn't work great with Linux. So I had to have this virtual machine in order to run it. But now we have Rustesk, and Rustesk is open source. The code is available. You can build it your own. There is a server component that you can install on your local server that has internet access. So you can call that up. And that is a bridging tooling in order to find one Rustesk environment with another one. So what is this kind of technology used for? It's when you are running different servers on different places and you want to remote desk into them. So you want to move into that environment and do some work. And so if you have installations on other companies and so on, the great thing with this kind of technology is that both of them are calling out to another service. So they can be behind firewalls and everything. And then they are finding each other and connecting through this bridging service. So this will give you a desktop where you can do everything that you usually do with a computer. And the great thing with Rustesk is that it actually supports WLAN, and it has better support for multi-desktop, multi-screens, and so on. Before, when you had run this against Linux environments, you had the problem with the mouse pointer not being in the correct place and mouse pointing skipping around and so on. So it was very frustrating to use, and other similar technologies don't support Linux as well either. So Rustesk will work for Mac, Linux, and Windows, and it's much more robust in this latest release. So it's really nice to see that they have done a new release and it's up and running, and you can just download and start using it on all platforms. Next up, we're going to talk about Blender. So Blender 5 is released, and I'm not using Blender myself, but they have added a bunch of different things for HDR rendering. I also saw in the video that they were talking about additions like doing a lot of different things and then adding randomizations for it. So if you wanted to create a very dense forest with a lot of trees with different sizes, different colors, and so on, you could do that with this tooling in a very quick manner. So they have added so much new functionality to Blender, and it's something you should look into. This new version is really cool and will make things a lot more productive. So next up, we're gonna talk about Arduino, and this is gonna be the big thing this week, because Arduino, and it's a great platform. I have used it, and I also bought an Arduino, and it's pretty much the open sources of all open source. It's hardware and software, and everything is available, so you could roll your own or buy breadboards and so on in order to get it up and running. And Arduino was the first there, I think. I don't think that Raspberry Pi was that early. Arduino was really early. I had this board. I have had this board for at least 10 years. And they have a very simplistic view. So you have these kind of microcontrollers. You send particular compiled things to them, and you can build up things, and then you could create products from there. And everything is open source, of course. And what they was a little bit perturbed by was that they now have changed their policies. So they were bought by Qualcomm, and Qualcomm have now switched their policies. And a big thing that they added is this down here. Users are now explicitly forbidden from reverse engineering or even attempting to understand how the platform works unless Arduino gives permission. That is a profound shift from a brand long embraced by educations, makers, researchers, and open source advocates. So this is really sad, and I think they've got a lot of flack about this. And this was posted by Adafruit Industries, which is the makers of the Arduino boards. So it's a really sad thing to see. So maybe there will be a lot less Arduinos out there in the world because people will switch from them. Next up, we're going to talk about Tentacle. And there's a little bit sore point for me because it's a really nice to see a new release, Tentacle. And there is a lot of good things in this release. To mention a few, the C Store is now in a tech preview, so you should be able to run it alongside your Crimson OSD. I have not tried it. I will set up an environment in order to try this. Then they have added more support for NVMe over TCP. Really cool. They have added SMB support directly in the manager. So now you can set up an SMP endpoint, which is really cool as well. And the Rados has a fast EC, so erasure encoded pools that had a huge setback when it comes to reading and writing. They were much slower than the replicated ones. They have made them faster, which is really cool to see. And they also have improved the normal ones, so they have a faster write-ahead log, which is really cool as well. And there was something more here that I saw that was a big change and that I really liked. And don't see it now. Nope. So that was pretty much it. So there is a lot of new things in this release, and it's really cool that I've done it. But I would say don't try it too early. Wait at least 1 point release. I saw that this was released and I thought, great, now I can start testing Squid because we are usually one version behind. So I wanted to upgrade my cluster to Squid. I must have been tired that day, so I mistyped it, and I now have installed 3 Tentacle managers, or monitors and managers. So all those hosts are updated, which means that I can't go back, because when they have gone into a quorum, they will type down that they are now in a Tentacle quorum and you can't switch back. So then I have also upgraded all my OSDs to Squid. But now I am in a little bit of a limbo because I have one OSD that won't go over to Tentacle. It will not start with Tentacle for some reason. It starts fine with Squid, but not with Tentacle. And I don't want to upgrade any more hosts until I can verify that Tentacle works and the upgrade path is actually fine, so I don't lose any data. So currently I have a Tentacle cluster with Squid OSDs, which is a little bit annoying. Both that I had a brain fart or something like that. So I actually wrote Tentacle when I wanted to install Squid, and also that I'm now stuck in a limbo in between versions pretty much. So that was a little bit sad for my point, but I still think it's a really cool release and it's going to be awesome when we actually start running it. So next up, we're going to talk about PHP 5 or 8.5. Really nice that it actually is released, and as you see here, they have highlighted the big things in 8.5, and it's not that much that they have highlighted. And the big things I would say here is that the support for filter when it comes to exceptions and validation failures is really nice. And And max memory limit, no. Array first and last functions could be useful. If a locale is right to left, so Arabic for instance, I think they are right to left when it comes to typing things. One big thing that I saw that I've also noted to my colleagues is stack trace support for fatal errors. So this is really cool. Before you just got this line, we had a fatal error and something happened on this line, which wasn't that helpful. Now you can actually see what led up to that stack error, or that error. So you actually have a stack trace that you can pick and use, which is really nice. Get exception handle and error handle functions. Didn't know that we didn't have them. Really good. So we also can get who actually built this PHP version and which build date was it built. So yeah, there isn't that much extra into this new release. There is of course a lot of bug fixes and a lot of improvements overall, but when it comes to extra features, there is not that much to highlight. Next up, we're going to talk about WordPress, and they have done something really great, I would say. They have focused on accessibility in the next release 6.9. So this release will have more focus on accessibility. It will have looked at the different guidelines in order to get accessibility both in the backend for people that are actually using WordPress, and also when it comes to the standard templates that you use in order to view things. So I really like that they are going in and looking at WCAG and trying to improve different aspects of their application. So this will be more useful for people with disabilities. A big proponent when it comes to actually using accessible toolings and so on. I'm working at a company that is doing a lot for accessibility and trying to make media more accessible to people. So it's really nice to see that WordPress, which is a huge part of media, is taking a stand in order to improve this situation as well. And last but not least, we are going to talk about Linus Torvalds. I've seen an interview on LTT with him, and he has also been talking with PC Gamer and so on. And he's saying here, and I said multiple times before, he likes when things are boring. And boring is nothing super exciting, no new features that will break machines for millions of people around the world. And I love that he has that stance. The Linux kernel is not that exciting. There is a lot of functionality that goes into it, a lot of new drivers and so on, but it hasn't changed that much over years. They have added new things, they have deprecated old things, but it's very slow moving, which is really good. And one thing that he said was that when it comes to the Linux kernel, you want to look at the different components that you are changing, and they should be changed in a way that they will not impact anything that is actually running on that kernel. And it's a very similar way of thinking that Windows have been thinking about for years. They stuck with 16 bits for many years. And when you actually are changing things that will impact users, that's the only thing that is really bad. And he had an anecdote where he talked about this. When they did some change, they said, okay, this feature is very kludgy, something that we don't really want to have in the kernel anymore. It was handling memories for, I think, 16-bit things in a really bad way. So they say, okay, this is something we will deprecate and remove from the kernel. And it actually broke Wine. Wine had huge problems with this and had a lot of different things that were working sketchy. So they patched and patched and patched in order to fix this. and finally got Wine to work again. And then he met them at the Wine developers at one event, and they were talking about this problem that they were having, and they had done a lot of patching to fix this problem. And he was like, okay, you have a bunch of problem because of something that we deprecated. You should have just told me that this was a huge problem and we could just bring the code back. That is the right thing to do. So the communication between different open source projects is huge. You need to talk with each other in order to find different problems, because for him, having this code in the kernel was not a big thing. He thought nobody used it, and it was creating a huge hurdle for them. So that is why he thinks that boring is the best thing. It should be boring. It should be just work. That's the best system. He also talked about, when it comes to memory, that he wants to have ECC memory, because he spent weeks debugging a thing that was just flaky due to having bad memory. So having a computer that is stable and actually works is also very good to have a boring life. But everybody don't like boring, and you can have exciting things on other places than the critical part of your operating system. That is also a stance, I would say. Yes, so this was what I wanted to cover today. I hope that you found this interesting. I hope that you learned something today. If you like this video, give it a like, share it with your friends and colleagues. If you have any comments or suggestions, leave those in the comment section down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And I really hope to see you in the next video.